show in Vegas.
You think we're fighting, and I think we're finally talking.
Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Bottom down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
Race is doing it. Seen it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
All right, what's happening, everybody? A very happy hump day. That's right. Is today Wednesday? I think today is Wednesday. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. You could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network, of course, the Washington Press Network, of course, the AM/FM dial, my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, my X page, Twitch. We're everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of what we do here. Busy show lined up for you. In a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Ron Filipkowski. He is literally my favorite follow on X. He's got over 1 million followers. He's from Midas Touch, and he does such a wonderful job. He's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking about, of course, this second hurricane, Milton, that's slamming Florida. And obviously, our thoughts and prayers going out to everyone. I hope everyone's out of there. I hope everybody's safe. I've been hearing from people all over from Florida that have been sending me messages, and we hope that they are going to be okay. It's going to be a rough one. Rough storm that's already hit. We're also going to be talking about Kamala Harris's several interviews she did yesterday, including The View and, of course, The Howard Stern Show. I told you The Howard Stern Show would work. I told you it would be a smash hit, and it was. And then there are right-wingers out there that are calling Kamala Harris an alcoholic because she had a sip of a beer on late-night television with Colbert. You can't make this stuff up, everybody. But before I do that, I do want to play you a quick clip. A guy by the name of Alec Lace, who is a right-wing buffoon podcaster, complete imbecile. He's interviewing another imbecile, Benny Johnson, and if he's not making money from the Kremlin, he's doing interviews with Alec Lace. Listen to this clip where they're talking about how Donald Trump is a first-class dad.
I do think one of the things overlooked about President Donald Trump is the fact that he is a first-class father as well. His kids are so well-spoken. Yes. And then you look at the flip side, you have like Biden, you got the Hunter Biden, you got the Obama kids. You don't see that with Trump. And one of the things that's key to this is that he hammered into his kids, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking. And I think more dads need to do that with their kids because we have an epidemic full of addictions in the country.
Dude, you actually, it's amazing. You can tell how kids were raised. You look at the results, right? You can see the seeds of the father. The fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. It's a lot of sayings about it, but it's also true. And if you have a kid like Hunter Biden, that reflects very poorly on Joe Biden. Trump has great kids. They're the salt of the earth. They're wonderful, wonderful people. And, that says so much about President Trump and also where his priorities were in raising him. I mean, who would you prefer as a son, Hunter or Barron?
I do think
I'll tell you who I would prefer as a son. I'd rather have Hunter. Yes, I would. So first of all, when they make the case that he is a first-class dad, I guess the dad didn't teach his kids not to steal, particularly from charities. I guess dad didn't teach his kids don't commit any felonies. I'm a 34-count felon. I guess dad didn't teach his kids to not be a sexual abuser. I guess dad didn't teach his kids to be honest and to tell the truth. I guess dad didn't teach his kids how to be faithful to any woman because we all know that Donald Trump hasn't been faithful to any woman his entire life. Now, there are people out there that believe this stuff. Don't get me wrong, right? There are people out there that actually believe that Donald Trump is a good father. They believe it. And when they listen to these clowns out there, they believe what they say. They listen to somebody like Benny Johnson, who we know sold out to Vladimir Putin, sold out to the Kremlin. And this guy, Alec Jace, or Lace, whatever his name is, he's a nobody. We know that as well. But what we know for sure is the way Donald Trump has lived his life. There's no comparison between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. By the way, Joe Biden's not running for re-election. There's no comparison there. There's no comparison between the families of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Donald Trump has lived his entire life to who he is as a human being, which is a lying, swindling, snake oil car salesman, piece of human. Let's just be honest. That's just what it is. And I'm not going to, sugarcoat this. Anybody who says Donald Trump is a first-class dad is an imbecile. Anyway, to talk to us about Vladimir Putin and the story that came out yesterday, Democrats, rightfully so, upset that Republicans, MAGA Republicans, are sharing misinformation about hurricane relief and so much more. Yes, that's right. Joining us right now, he is my favorite follow on social media. His name is Ron Filipkowski, and he does such a great job with Midas Touch, and we're very lucky to have him on the show again. Ron, it's such a pleasure to have you on, my friend. How are you?
Thanks, man. Doing good. That's quite a compliment there. A lot of good people on social media.
There are, but what I like about what you do is not only do you give out great information, but you're also very funny. So I laugh at a lot of your tweets because it's so great, Ron. Okay, I don't even know where to start in the last 24 hours, but I guess I'll start with what I wanted you to talk about first, which is the Vladimir Putin stuff. What do you make of these revelations that have come out that not only Donald Trump has spoken to Putin 7 times since he left office, but now we're learning that he allegedly sent COVID supplies to Putin in the middle of the pandemic when we were on a shortage? I mean, what do you make of this stuff?
Not that surprising. I know that he has these calls with foreign leaders that he likes, like Orban, he talks to all the time. Netanyahu, he talks to all the time. He has these private meetings. He acts like he's the shadow president, and he has done this ever since he left and trying to conduct his own foreign policy. He's met with the Saudis. He's got business deals going on over there. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's always up to no good. The Putin thing is particularly disturbing because, he's what he sent them is the machines to process rapid testing. That was at a time when our hospitals were begging for those machines and people were dying. It was at the height of COVID. And Putin did not want them for the Russian people. He wanted them for himself. He wanted them so that visitors to the Kremlin who are going to come see him could be rapid tested. So, and he didn't trust their scientific equipment. So Trump did him a solid there, hooked up his friend, didn't tell anybody, didn't disclose that to anyone because he knew how, even Putin knew, hey, said we got to keep this secret because people will go absolutely nuts. And he's right. So you have that. I mean, it's just treasonous what's going on. Why does he love Putin so much? What is it that he likes about Putin? He never really goes into much detail. But it's very, very disturbing, especially at a time when, Ukraine is fighting for their survival and we're their most important ally. And obviously against Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump's friend. So this is all very distressing.
I agree, Ron. And isn't it rich that so many MAGA Republicans on the far right are not talking about this, but yet they're talking about, and I've actually spoken to a few MAGA Republicans earlier today that are calling Kamala Harris an alcoholic because she had a sip of beer on a late night talk show on Colbert yesterday. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, the origin story of this is what they like to do is they will doctor her videos by messing with the speed. This is one of their favorite things, that she's a drunk, she's an alcoholic. And so what they'll do is they'll speed up and slow down her clips, which is very easy to do. I could manipulate Trump all day long if I wanted to. Right. In fact, people have accused me of manipulating Don Jr.'s clips by speeding them up. And so sometimes when he does his like crazy Coke rants, I even will put a disclaimer like, I did not speed this up because I don't mess with videos.
Right.
But they do that to Harris. They've done that for a long time. So there is this, and they don't disclose that they're monkeying with the videos. But what we have done at Midas is sometimes when we watch something and it sounds like she's slurring her words and stuff, we'll be like, this doesn't sound right. And we'll go back and pull the original clip and compare them side by side. And we'll see that they slowed down the speed. So So that's why they all have this impression, many of them. They don't even know that the influencers are messing with these videos. And so there's this perception among them, of course, that she's a drunk. So I knew, like, as soon as she went on Colbert, and I don't know why Colbert does this move. He loves having everybody drink. I don't know. That's his thing, whatever. But, you know, as soon as I heard that she was like drinking beer on there, I said, oh man, you know, the right wingers are going to go nuts because this is one of their conspiracies.
Speaking of conspiracies, Ron, what do you make of the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and others basically saying that Democrats control the weather? I mean, Joe Biden made a statement about it earlier today, saying it was outrageous, absurd, ridiculous. I'm paraphrasing. What do you make of some of these people, again, making the claim that Democrats are controlling when a hurricane comes to town? I mean, I'm like speechless. How can people believe this stuff, Ron?
Usually the way these things play out, because I monitor these conspiracies all the time. And the way these things usually play out is like they'll say something crazy and then they'll get this huge pushback from the media and there are some people in their own party who aren't totally crazy. And they'll say, look, you stop talking nonsense. Stop being a fool. You're making us look bad. You're making us look stupid. And then they kind of pull back from it, or they delete it, or they apologize.
Right.
We've seen Musk kind of do that many times. But Green, no, I mean, there's no back down. She just posted, she's posting today. She's busy posting, like, as we're speaking right here, different theories on controlling the weather. And her boyfriend, Brian Glenn, is posting the same kind of stuff. I saw Kevin Sorbo, one of our famous MAGA actors, is saying, like, well, he came up with a brilliant take today. He said, well, how can Democrats say that humans affect the climate and have climate change, but they're not able to control the weather? Those two things are inconsistent, which is, I mean, just completely brainless. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of them there. It's not just like one or two people. There's a big handful of MAGA people that absolutely buy into this, that this is a plot by the deep state to send these storms into red states to disrupt voting.
I mean, it's unconscionable. It's ridiculous. And I blame the people that believe it, that are so stupid that they actually believe this stuff. It's incredible. And, you know, you had mentioned this on your social media page. I mentioned it on mine, where you hear all the time when I ask a Trump supporter, name me a policy, they usually can't name me a policy, but they'll use a slogan, right, Ron? Like, make America first. And as you accurately noted on your social media page, is that he sells these $60, $70 Bibles, and they're made in China, and it costs $3 to make. He's talking with the Saudis on these phones that are burner phones. It seems like his behavior, everything he does is for him. He puts himself first before the country, and he seems to put Vladimir Putin and evil, murderous dictators ahead of the country, right?
Yeah, it's not America first at all. He's a treasonous bastard. And you know, one of the most enlightening things for me in understanding where the last 3 years of Trump is when I read his deposition in his New York fraud case, the one he had with Engoron. And he had to give a deposition in that case because it was a civil case. And of course, he talked a lot about his finances. And that opened my eyes on so many things, because they went into so many different areas, why he doesn't like windmills and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things he really talked about was that his goal, when you're flipping real estate, when you're buying buildings in New York City, that's tons of work, tons of risk, lots of stress. You're buying a building, you're hiring contractors, you're fixing it up, then you're trying to break it into condos and sell off the condos, or you're trying to sell the building or rentals. That's what his dad did, and that's what Trump tried to do for years, but Trump never really liked that business very much. What Trump talked about in that deposition is his lifelong goal was to always make it so that he could put his name on any product, a pet rock, a tree, whatever it was, any trinket, and it would sell. And it would sell for 3-4 times what the product is worth just by having his name on there. And he tried to do that for many, many years with mattresses, board games, vitamins, universities, vodka, so many things, and they all failed. And then what he said in his deposition is he got elected president, and everything changed. Suddenly, the value of putting his name on a product tripled. He said it tripled his asking price. But while he was president, he could not make those deals. So literally, like the minute he left office, he starts cashing in on his name, on his brand. And now he's literally got his name on hundreds and hundreds of products. People don't even realize how much stuff he's selling, but he's not doing it himself. These are just licensing deals. And the Bible is a perfect example. Lee Greenwood out there floundering, trying to sell his damn Bible, can't sell it. He hooks up with Trump. Of course, he did the song Proud to be an American, the Trump theme song, rally theme song. So he does his deal with Trump. Now, all Trump has to do is do a 60-second ad commercial where he's pitching the Bible. And when he occasionally does Christian broadcasts, he brings up the Bible, and that's it. And he's raking in the cash. So this is Trump's scam. This is his grift. And he's making millions and millions of dollars off this stuff. And yes, we learn that this Bible that Greenwood has been peddling, that Trump is now selling, is made in China. It costs $3. They pay $3 a piece for them, and they're selling them to their suckers for $60.
Ron, I talk to some of these MAGA clowns almost on a daily basis, whether they call into this show or I see them at rallies, and they seem to say to me all the time, well, Donald Trump didn't accept his $400,000 a year salary. He could just be driving off into the MAGA sunset and enjoy the rest of his life. He's only doing this because he cares about the American people and he's putting America before himself. The stuff that you just mentioned, he's made hundreds of millions of dollars and profited off the fact that he ran for office, he was president for 4 years, and he's continuing to do it now. So if somebody comes up to you, Ron, and says, oh, come on, I mean, Trump's not out for himself, he's out for the American people, he puts them first, otherwise he wouldn't run for office, what would be your answer to that?
Trump, in that deposition, which was in 2021, I want to say 2022, testified under oath that his net worth by being president tripled. It went from 2.9 to he estimated 9 billion. Now, I don't believe those numbers, either one, but still, in his own mind, the value of his brand tripled simply by being elected. So he's worth 3 billion, according to him, before he was president, 9 billion leaving the White House. Who cares about the annual salary? That's nothing. He made that up in like foreign dignitaries staying at his resorts. He's got the Saudis paying to build him a golf resort in Oman right now. You think that happens if he isn't president? Trump has figured out there's two big things that Trump has got that he wanted his entire life and could not achieve out of the presidency that are more important to him than this $400,000 a year salary by far. Yeah. One is the value of his brand, the ability to put his name on any product and sell it. That's number one. But number two is the worship and adulation. And I documented that yesterday when he went home to New York City last night. His entourage, which is this massive caravan of vehicles that no other ex-president has, Obama doesn't have this, goes through New York City. They shut down all the streets. Everybody has to stand. All the cars have to stop while King Donald Trump gets to ride through the city he grew up in, and the whole city has to stop for him. This is what Trump has always wanted and could never, him being a businessman, he never got that kind of a hero worship or adulation. Now he has it. And that's worth more to him than $10 billion.
Yeah. And I forgot who said this. Oh, Lindsey Graham, to what you're referring to. Lindsey Graham made a comment. I think it might have been in an article or in his book where he said his time at Mar-a-Lago, he said it felt like being in North Korea in that every single time Trump would go into a room, everybody would stand up and clap. I don't know if you saw that comment, but I found it to be one of a few truthful things that Lindsey Graham has said in a long time.
This is something I've documented for years because I follow so many people who are members of Mar-a-Lago for years. That's how I'm able to get so much behind the scenes footage. It's from people's cell phones that no one ever heard of that are members of Mar-a-Lago that hang out there. And yes, one of the things I've shown is when Trump walks into the room, one time I posted a clip that went super viral when he walked in and it was like lunchtime from the golf course,
Mhm.
and there was like a table of old people. They had to be like 80 years old, all of them, and there was one like old guy that was like struggling, like Trump stood there and everybody stood up, and these guys they're all like old people struggling to get out of their seats. They're putting their food down and their forks so they can stand up and cheer the leader like they're supposed to do. And this one old dude was really struggling to get up. He's probably 85 years old, and Trump stood there and waited and glared at this guy and waited for him to get out of his chair before he walked into the ballroom. And that stuff happens all the time.
That is so disgusting. I want to get your thoughts on Laura Trump for a moment. Not the incredible voice that she has. Not your take on that, because I think we both could agree it's worse than Sanjaya. But I would ask you, she made a statement yesterday on Fox News. She was asked about some of the new polls that came out. I'm not a big poll guy. I know you're not huge on polls, but a lot of the polls are showing that Harris continues to climb and she has a lead on Trump, a slight lead. So Laura Trump's asked about that on national television, and she says she doesn't believe the polls. And she says every single time she gets onto a plane, people leave her notes on a napkin that says they're voting for Trump. Like, I don't know if you saw that clip, but
yeah, I did,
I'm laughing at how absurd it is, Ron. It's ridiculous.
It's just funny because I watch her podcast. I've watched her podcast 100 times, and I've watched 1 million Eric Trump interviews, and this is like their favorite story to tell. And I follow so many right wingers, and you just see these stories all over MAGA social media, which is like different versions of the exact same story. Hey, got into an Uber, and my Uber driver was, a gay black guy from, at West Africa, and and he loves Trump, and he told me that he's voted Democrat for 20 years, but he's voting for, and so they love to tell these stories about the big strong men coming up to them with tears in their eyes, thanking them for all they've done for the country. Like, these are stories that they get from the old man. Of course, Trump loves telling them, but Eric tells them, Junior tells them. It's like for the first time in their life, they're important, and people they want everybody to think that they're worshipped and loved by everybody. And I have to ask myself, like, when was that last time Laura Trump actually flew commercial and came into contact with the public? I seriously doubt it, that any part of that story is true, but they tell those same stories like every single day over and over and over again. They just change like the person. Sometimes it's cocktail napkins, sometimes it's tears in their eyes, sometimes it's Uber drivers. Yeah. It's always the same different versions of the same story.
I can promise you, if I see Laura Trump ever on a plane that I am on, I will send her a napkin note that will say, "You couldn't pay me enough to listen to your music." So that will be my note to her. And she probably wouldn't appreciate that, but I will video it and I will send it to you. Last question, Ron, before we let you go. And we really do appreciate you coming on the show. It seems like you got out of Florida at the right time, right? I mean, this is just brutal what they're having to face there. And obviously our thoughts and prayers to everybody there. We hope they get out of this thing okay. It's going to be a mess. I just wanted to ask you this. Ron DeSantis is attacking Kamala Harris, right? He didn't accept her phone calls. And, we see pictures of Ron DeSantis giving out, supplies and stuff to people in Florida. And then the MAGA right wingers out there are saying all she's doing is doing interviews, and, all she's doing is this and that, and she's campaigning and she's not helping people. I mean, I get this a lot. I'm sure you get it a lot, particularly in the last several days. What is your response to that?
I just, coming from that area, and I moved 4 months ago from Sarasota, Florida, which is supposed to have the eye. They're supposed to get the direct hit tonight. And a couple of my kids are still there. They're sheltered. Other of my kids have left the area, but some are still there. So, anybody who goes through, and my mom's house got completely wiped out, flooded in the last storm on Helene. And so she doesn't have homeowners insurance, because a lot of people don't in Florida who own their own homes outright. They don't. And it's homeowners insurance is so expensive in Florida because of Ron DeSantis doing nothing about it, that a lot of Floridians don't have insurance. And by the way, I think that one of the reasons why DeSantis doesn't do anything about it is because, honestly, and I know this sounds a little conspiratorial, but I think he wants a lot of these old Florida cracker homes to get wiped out because of the developers, his friends, the developers. They want to, they want to build these huge high-rise condos and controlled, what do they call them? Gated communities, planned communities. You have them there in Nevada.
Yep.
And the problem is that a lot of these people are in these old Florida neighborhoods, don't want to sell their little houses. And so I think it won't bother DeSantis a bit to have these houses wiped out and have the people move out of state, because then he can have his friends, the developers, go in and build. And I think that's what he's doing down in Fort Myers right now from the hurricane a couple years ago. So I hate that it's politicized. And I hate the conspiracies and blaming FEMA. Look, FEMA's not a first responder. This is what everybody needs to understand. First responders to storms in this country are local and state governments. FEMA is only there to provide, big 30,000 feet stuff, financial assistance after the fact, all of that kind of stuff. But it's the primary duties of the locals. So when these storms hit and the first thing people start doing on the right is start screaming about FEMA, it's not their job, to be honest with you. It's not their job to be in there rescuing people. That's not what FEMA does.
You're absolutely right. And don't even get me started with the $750. So many of these MAGA Republicans don't even understand this is the first step, right, Ron? Correct me if I'm wrong. Donald Trump capped it at 500. There are plenty of Republicans out there. If they had their way, FEMA wouldn't even exist. Joe Biden has tried multiple times in his presidency to try to add more funds to that first payment, and Republicans seem to shoot it down every time, right?
Yeah. They asked Mike Johnson if he would call people back because FEMA's going broke because of all these storms, while Republicans, of course, deny climate change. And it's pretty much out of money. And now you got this massive storm about to hit Florida, and Mike Johnson won't call them back to DC to refund FEMA because while he's trying to hold a house and all of his people are out campaigning in their districts, and people in safe districts are in other swing districts helping them. And so he doesn't want to pull them off the campaign trail back to DC to vote on FEMA funding because he's trying to hold the House majority. So, I mean, that's who Mike Johnson is.
No, you're right about that. Well, Ron, I hope your family, you said you had some kids that are out there in Florida. Thoughts and prayers. I hope your family gets through it okay, my friend. And love what you guys do at Midas Touch. Please tell Ben I said hello. You guys are awesome. Always appreciate the time, my friend. And hopefully we can get you back on before the elections. Thank you so much, as always.
You got it. Anytime, man. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ron. That's Ron Filipkowski. Again, my favorite follow on social media. I have some others that I like. Ron is the best. He is such a great follow on social media. Please follow him and Midas Touch. The people at Midas Touch are also the best. All right, so here's what we're going to do now. Kamala Harris made the rounds, did some interviews yesterday. She's been doing a bunch of interviews. She did 60 Minutes. She did The View yesterday. I went on Don Lemon's show last week praying that I don't pray very much, praying that the Kamala Harris campaign would give her the okay to do the Howard Stern show, because I think he's the best in the business and has been for decades at interviewing people and making them feel comfortable. I thought her best interview was on the Howard Stern show. You might call me a little bit biased, but I thought this interview was hands down the best. She did okay on The View. Thought she did fine on 60 Minutes. I thought Colbert, she was very laid back, very relaxed. I thought she did fine. But I thought the Howard Stern interview, she clearly was most comfortable, and she gave real good, thoughtful answers. So this is the point in the interview on the Howard Stern show where Harris was telling Howard Stern that Trump doesn't care about Americans' needs. Have a listen to this.
I think that, Howard, people ask me, what do you think is going on, and what is the tension here? What's at stake? And there are many things, and I can be much more articulate than what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I do believe that this is an election that is about strength versus weakness.
Yeah.
And weakness as projected by someone who puts himself in front of the American people and does not have the strength to stand in defense of their needs, their dreams, their desires, the work that must happen to make sure that we are a secure nation, that we are nurturing and protecting our alliances around the world, that we are supporting America's military, that we are fighting to bring the cost of living down for working families, that we are building businesses, building growth.
Did you?
Completely agree. Think about what we've learned in just the last 24 hours. This is a man during the heart of the pandemic when we had a shortage when it came to COVID tests. Yeah, as it progressed, we were fine. But when we had a shortage, he was sending COVID tests to Vladimir Putin and telling him, don't tell anybody about this, doing it in secret. He was holding COVID press conferences, turning into campaign rallies, telling people to inject themselves with disinfectant. This is what Donald Trump did. 15 cases down to 0. It's going to be gone by Easter. And this is the point, and this is part of the reason why I love Howard. You know, Kamala Harris did that 60 Minutes interview. Say what you want about it. She was pressed. She answered questions. It was unscripted. Donald Trump is a chicken. He's a draft dodging coward. He won't go on 60 Minutes because he doesn't want to get fact checked. He doesn't want to be pressed. He'll do his Newsmax and OAN garbage. But the reason why he won't do a 60 Minutes interview is because you have good journalists that are asking real questions. Donald Trump is a chicken, just like he doesn't want to debate her again. He doesn't want a piece of her, and he doesn't want a piece of 60 Minutes. Have a listen to this exchange.
You're coming here. You went on The View this morning.
Yeah.
You're going to the shows. You did 60 Minutes. By the way, I thought what was so amazing about 60 Minutes is the fact that Trump turned it down.
Yeah.
I mean, it just says so much. He didn't want to be fact checked. This is maddening. This is insanity. What do you mean you don't want to be fact checked?
I think that, you know, Howard, people ask me, like, what do you think is going on, and what is the tension here? What's at stake? And there are many things, and I can be much more articulate than what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I do believe that this is an election that is about strength versus weakness,
Yeah.
and weakness as projected by someone who puts himself in front of the American people and does not have the strength to stand in defense of their needs, their dreams, their desires, the work that must happen to make sure that we are a secure nation, that we are nurturing and protecting our alliances around the world, that we are supporting America's military, that we are fighting to bring the cost of living down for working families, that we are building businesses, building growth.
Did you?
Yes, of course. You can rely on your record in the Biden administration. There's no question about that. Trump cannot. You look at the economy that he left Joe Biden, it was in shambles. Donald Trump is dodging 60 Minutes and dodging another debate with Kamala Harris, just like he dodged the military, because Donald Trump has lived his entire life as a coward and a wannabe dictator. And this is the point in the interview, and I think it's really important, where she's asked about that. Why does Donald Trump kiss up to these dictators? Why is he sending COVID tests to Vladimir Putin? Have a listen to this.
Did you ever think in your lifetime you would see a Republican not supporting NATO and wanting to disassemble NATO? I mean, what world are we living in?
And
This is so weird.
NATO, which is the greatest military alliance the world has ever known.
It's what my
You wanna
father's
talk about
general.
strength.
Yeah.
That is strength to embrace that alliance as America, as Americans. And he would walk away because he admires dictators
Well, what did you
more
think?
than he does.
What did you
our
think of this thing that
lives.
just came out today? That Bob Woodward's book was saying that Trump was sending COVID tests to Putin, and Putin said, "Don't let anyone know." I mean, what is going on? What do you make of that?
So I actually said it even in the debate. I believe that Donald Trump has this desire to be a dictator. He admires strong men, and he gets played by them because he thinks that they're his friends,
Yeah.
and they are manipulating him full time and manipulating him by flattery
Yeah.
and with favor. And so in the midst, to your point, as
So it's very simple here. First of all, she's 150% correct. 150%. And she did allude to this on the debate stage. Simply put, Donald Trump admires evil, murderous dictators like Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump's dream, or his wet dream, or whatever you would like to call it, is that he wants to enter every room, any public setting, and he wants everyone to bow to him and kiss his feet because he's a wannabe evil, murderous dictator, and he admires that. Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin and other murderous dictators around the world, some, have that, and he doesn't. And I believe he'd be willing to do anything and everything in order to get that kind of treatment. Now, I want to go to the next cut, if I may, because this is an important part of the interview. And this is the reason and the case that I make to so many Americans when I'm on the air every day, what a threat Donald Trump is to this country and, quite frankly, the world. And this is the part of the discussion where they talk about this.
To your point, doesn't support our friend Ukraine, doesn't support, therefore, something America should always, and has always, by the way, been a champion of, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity, which means the importance of standing against anyone who tries to take another nation by force.
Right.
That's what we stand for as Americans, that you don't do that. And if you do that to our friends, we're going to stand with our friends. You're getting played. And some would say, look, I grew up in the neighborhood. Some would say you're getting punked.
Yeah.
If you stand in favor of somebody who's an adversary over your friends on principles that we all agree on. And you look at it, it's not only that. He says he's going to be a dictator on day one. Understand what dictators do. They jail journalists. They put people who are protesting in the street in jail.
He said he thinks he wants to go after Jimmy Kimmel, a comedian. He wants to go after Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers. Even if someone had said years ago when I remember presidential, races, if someone said, "Oh, Kamala Harris isn't a black woman," they would have been out of the. They would have been out of the. Yeah. That would have been it. Would have been over. I mean, how do you challenge that? Well, what do you do with that?
Now, what Kamala Harris tried to do, and I thought she did it very well, is she wanted to limit, personal attacks. And she talked about policy. She talked about the threat and the dangers of Donald Trump. I thought it was a phenomenal job. Make no mistake about it. Howard Stern is still the best in the world at interviewing people. He has that skill and that ability that nobody else has, in my opinion. It's a level above everybody else. He makes everybody feel comfortable. That was a phenomenal interview. He did the same thing with Hillary Clinton. Phenomenal. And I'll be honest, the times that he interviewed Donald Trump, he was able to get out of Donald Trump who he is as a human being. If you go back to those interviews that he did with Donald Trump, doesn't matter whether he was a politician or not, Donald Trump compared sexually transmitted diseases to, quote, his Vietnam. He talked about his daughter's body. He made disparaging comments about women. If a woman is flat-chested, she can't be a 10, among other things. But that's what Howard Stern is able to do. He's able to get from you who you truly are as a human being. You have Kamala Harris, very intelligent, very articulate, very well-spoken, speaking truth to lies. You have Donald Trump, politician or not, coming in there only talking about naked women and sexcapades and comparing someone who is a brave man or woman in uniform to sexually transmitted diseases that he has to fight against when he's with women. This is who Donald Trump is. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Believe them. That's who Donald Trump is, the 34-count felon sexual abuser. That's who Donald Trump is, the swindling, lying car salesman who sells you crap and lies and Trump University. The man who's never been faithful to one woman his entire life. All he cares about is himself. And the people that believe what he says are some of the dumbest people America has to offer. I repeat it over and over again. If you believe that Donald Trump did this for all of you, then go ahead and drive to Mar-a-Lago and look at the people that are there at Mar-a-Lago. The billionaires, middle-aged white people, older white people that stand up and clap for him when he walks into a room like he's some sort of king. Well, he's not. He's King Orange Turd is what he is. He's a despicable human being who's lived a despicable, terrible life, a draft dodger, a liable rapist, and a 34-count felon criminal, and more coming, ladies and gentlemen. That's who Donald Trump is, and I am proud to support Kamala Harris. I am proud that she went on the Howard Stern show. I've been told by several pretty powerful people, including 2 people that work on the Howard Stern show, that a big reason why she did that interview is because of me pressing her over and over again. And I'm not saying pressing the campaign. I'm not saying I deserve credit or a pat on the back or it's an ego thing. But if that is true, then I am very grateful and happy that she did do that, because I truly think that that interview is going to help her campaign. She's reaching out to middle-aged men, a group of people that she has been struggling with, and I believe that interview definitely helped her. Kudos to her. Kudos to the campaign. Job well done. Keep doing those interviews. You're doing a great job. I know you're still the vice president. We got less than a month to go. Please keep doing those interviews. So before we take a break, I want to remind you guys, this is a individually owned radio show, independently owned radio show. So we rely on good people like you. So what can you do to help support us? What can you do to help to support the show? Well, the first thing you do, and we appreciate you listening, first thing you do besides listening is check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. You can sign up for the free newsletter. We sell merchandise on there, shirts, hats, beanies, you name it, Pushing the Limits, all sorts of different stuff. If you don't want to buy merchandise, that's totally cool. You go to my front page of pushingthelimits.live. There's a donate button right there. Doesn't matter what it is. $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford, man. We really appreciate it. We really, really do. If you support and you enjoy what we do, then please support what we do. And we ask that you take a few minutes and just check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Thank you so much for your support. The rest of the show is dedicated to you. And boy, we get calls from all over the country, sometimes all over the world. Australia, we got last week, Switzerland. So now's the time to call in. 702-221-7283. I know the lines are usually busy. The best thing to do is to call when we go to another caller. Then we have an open phone line. We'll take calls coming up next. And want to hear from you. Your thoughts with Ron Filipkowski, your thoughts on the interviews that Kamala Harris has done the last several days, your thoughts on much, much more. Give me a call right now, 702-221-7283. We're going to take a 2-minute break. And when we come back, we want to hear from you. It's the most interactive show in the country, and there's a reason why I say that. And for those of you that are new to the show, you're going to find out. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSH.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Please check out the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson's Bar and Grill. I was out there the other day. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Fleming and Jones. Man, they got so many great promotions. The Vegas Golden Knights open up their season today. I'm going to be going to the season opener tonight. And they have this great Pass the Puck contest, right? You go there, you learn the details where if you hit a 4 of a kind while you're actively playing, you're going to get a chance to win a lot of free slot play. I believe it's up to $500 at the end of the period, per period. Check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo Jones. Tell them I sent you. Another programming note for you. Nick Bonsanto, who is a good friend of mine and a great radio host and a veteran in the radio business, is going to be filling in for me tomorrow. The reason is because I'm going to be covering the Kamala Harris Univision town hall tomorrow, which is in Las Vegas. It seems like she's here every week, but I felt like it was really important for me to cover this event so I could share the experience with you on Friday. So Nick Bonsanto is going to be joining us tomorrow. He's going to be filling in for me. He's a great host, and he's been doing radio for decades. So he's going to do a great job for me tomorrow because I will be at that Univision event town hall. All right, I promised all of you, without further ado, that I would get to the phone calls, and that is what I'm going to do because this show is dedicated to all of you. So let's go to Vivian. Vivian is first up on PTL. Hey, Vivian, what's going on? Hi, Vivian. Are you there? Okay, I think we lost Vivian. So, Vivian, you could try calling back at another time. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Brian. I have two quick things, and I'd like to ask you a question on the second thing I'm going to say.
Okay.
But the first thing is an extension of what Trump did with the Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he hooked up with Greenwood.
Yes.
But did you hear who Greenwood hooked up with?
No.
Hooked up with Ryan. Ryan Walters, the Secretary of Education in Oklahoma.
That would not surprise me. Is that the story where they're going to be putting the Bibles in schools? Is that what I'm
in every schoolroom in Oklahoma?
Absolutely absurd. It's sick. These people are so sick. They're disgusting.
Bingo.
Yeah, they're sick.
One thing more important.
Yeah.
Let me hear what you think about this. And all you MAGAs, you can go on YouTube and just type in what I'm about to tell you to type in and look for yourself. Back in 1939, Brian, in February of 1939, a group called America First held a rally in Madison Square Garden. And inside the Madison Square Garden, it's a video, you could see it. And your friend Michael, the podcast guy, he played it on his podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone in Nazi uniforms.
Well, listen, that doesn't surprise me, Mark, because the naysayers out there, or the MAGA idiots, will say when he said good people on both sides in Charlottesville, he then denounced white supremacy a couple minutes later. Well, so what? He still said there are good people on both sides. He still told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. The reason why he does this, besides being a racist pig, is because he knows he needs their vote and he will get their vote. Stand back and stand by. Let me tell you something. If there were 30 Nazis that wanted to go to Camp David, he'd probably invite them to Camp David. Thank you, Mark. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Dwayne. Dwayne is next up on PTL. What's up, Dwayne?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Man, this is disgusting. I've never seen any former president ever did this in my life. This man will sell America out as quick as he can.
Mm-hmm.
People's about to die in Florida, and he's playing political games.
Yep.
And to all the Republicans, what the hell happened to this party?
Well,
If
you know,
told me this 20,
I asked
you
Adam.
told me this 20 years ago, I would have told you, hell no.
Yeah, well,
this
I'm with
is
you.
not the Republican Party.
I asked Adam Kinzinger that very question on this show last week, and he said, well, he doesn't really have a party anymore. It's run by Donald Trump. It's taken over by Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Republicans that feel the same way that Adam Kinzinger does. They just won't say it publicly because they're a bunch of cowards. This man
I'm a Republican.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate
I was
that. Yeah.
until 2008.
Right.
When they started calling Obama just, oh my God, his name is Barack Hussein Obama, like the man named himself.
Yeah, the birther issue was bigotry at its finest, right, my friend? And so let me ask you a question. Who are you voting for in November?
Harris, unfortunately.
So it's fair to
have no
say.
choice.
So, well, I hear you. I'm with you, obviously. So it's fair to say
And
you're.
she don't have a concept of building houses or concept of insurance.
Right. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you another question. Then I would assume that you don't agree with all of Kamala Harris's policies, right? Because you're still a Republican. Okay, but you're doing what a normal, decent, good American would do. And what you're doing is you're voting for America before your party. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I admire you for doing that, sir. And let me tell you something. I've said this before, sir, and I'll say it again. And I do appreciate your call, by the way. If, in fact, Kamala Harris wins in November, it's going to be because of people like you, moderate Republicans, independents. And if that does happen, I want you to call back because I want to personally thank people like you, sir. And I'm so glad that there are people like you out there. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Larry is next. What's going on, Larry?
Not much. How you doing?
Good, man. What's on your mind today?
Actually, one of the questions that I have, which nobody seemed to be able to answer for me, is how a convicted felon is not allowed to vote, but a convicted felon is allowed to run for presidency.
I asked myself that same question every single day. If Donald Trump was wearing, I don't know, another face, let's just characterize it that way, and he walked into a fast food chain, he probably wouldn't get hired. He's a 34-count felon, but yet a 34-count felon could be the run for president of the United States. It makes absolutely no sense. Many of our laws need to change. This is one of them. And it is disgusting.
Oh, yes.
It's disgusting that this country allows this sort of thing. And the Republican Party, they call themselves the Law and Order Party, which is, by the way, a joke. But yet they have no problem allowing a 34-count felon to not only be the face of their party, but to be the Republican nominee. They are the biggest hypocrites in the world, and they're all a bunch of clowns.
And I agree with that. And I agree with the fact that, either side, typically, you may not agree with all policies that one particular individual may have, but that doesn't stop the fact that this man is just, I agree, 100% for himself.
Yeah.
He does not care about the American people. No. He's preying on the fact of the people that are just so
dumb,
ignorant
yeah.
that they listen to him.
But let me ask you a question, Larry. I agree. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the Democratic Party would allow a 34-count felon on their side to run for president? I don't believe that the party would ever allow it to get anywhere near this. Like back in the day, even when Trump was, before he was a felon, convicted felon, when he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, the Democrats would not allow a candidate to run for president, in my personal opinion, that is a 34-count felon. I don't think they would ever let that happen.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, as radical as they may say they are, they're not that radical.
No, Larry, you're absolutely right, my friend. Great call. I asked myself that question every day. How could we be living in a country where a felon could run for president? It's absurd, my friend. 702-221-7283. Joseph is next. What's going on, Joseph?
Yeah. Hey, Brian. All right. Here's my piece. Hearing your host, your guest saying about Ron DeSantis, does make sense because Ron DeSantis did not care about the people who are drowning or the family members or the elderly. He's probably doing exactly what Trump wanted. He wants to see those homes destroyed because he just wants to make it a beachfront property. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right about that. And the fact be known is that when you remember the last hurricane, and I'm sure, I'm talking about the hurricane under Donald Trump, he capped FEMA response at $500. And if you recall, the video and images of him throwing out paper towels to people. I mean, can you imagine if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris did something like that? We'd never hear the end of it from MAGA Republicans. This is a man who only cares about himself. He shows up to these sites, just like the train derailment. Do you remember that train derailment where they're saying, where's Pete Buttigieg? Where's everybody? By the way, hundreds of train derailments under Donald Trump, and the Secretary of State never showed up at any of those. But yet they hammered Pete Buttigieg. And what does Donald Trump do? He shows up and he buys a couple people some sandwiches at McDonald's, and all of a sudden he's labeled some sort of hero. These people, again, that follow this man and they are part of the cult, again, are some of the dumbest Americans that we have to offer in this country. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283. Amy is next. What's going on, Amy?
Actually, I listen to your broadcast every afternoon, just about, and I enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yesterday, you had a young gentleman on, and I did try to call, but I couldn't get through. I wasn't surprised about that, but you kept bringing him back to Donald as a rapist, a liable rapist, and he kept saying, "Well, women lie about that, and why did she wait so long?" Well, I will tell you, I've had a similar experience. It took me. I had buried it for 20 years.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
And well, yes, but many women do.
Sure.
They had to do it back in a time when they weren't believed.
Listen, Amy,
because their name was
any person with an IQ, I shouldn't even put an IQ number on it. Any semi-intelligent person with life experience would understand what you are saying. And I'm so sorry I'm so sorry for what you had to go through. My heart breaks for people like you. You're strong to be able to talk about it even. But let me tell you something.
Well,
I believe E. Jean Carroll. I believe all the women that have come forward.
I absolutely do.
All the women that have come forward, including Donald Trump's ex-wife who passed away, in court documents that said he raped her.
Now
listen,
a vicious.
I'm also going to be honest with you and say that there are some cases where there are people that lie. There are rare exceptions where people do lie. But when I hear someone claim that they are sexually abused or raped, and that man or woman and that man or woman has a history of it, which Donald Trump clearly does, I tend to believe the person that claims that they are the victim. And right after that trial, when Trump lost not the criminal trial, but the trial with E. Jean Carroll, he defamed her. He started defaming her right after it because he's despicable.
Because he's a horrible human. And something that I did want to bring up is they kept saying, well, that was a long time ago. Show me the proof. I'm like, he said it on tape. He said he sexually abuses women on tape. We have it. I grab him.
And his excuse to that, my dear, it's locker room talk. Let me tell you something. I've heard a lot of men say
it was an admission.
Of course it was.
It was an admission.
Absolutely. Listen, I played 2 Division I college sports. And by the way, my dear, thank you so much for calling in. I'm so sorry that you had a traumatic, horrible experience like that. And I really appreciate you calling in. I really do. It means a lot. I played 2 Division I college sports. Been in locker rooms my entire life. And unlike Donald Trump, I never went in a female locker room and bragged about it. Never even thought of doing something like that. Donald Trump did that at the pageants that he owned. I've heard men say a lot of piggish things, right? I never heard a man talk like that in my life. Grab him by the P word. Have you guys ever heard a man talk like that? I've heard, people talking about a woman's body parts, right? How they'd want to do certain things to her. Yeah, of course. In our lifetime, we're going to hear men talk like that. I'm not condoning it. I've never heard a man in my life say, grab him by the P word. It's bizarre, horrible, disgusting. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to James. James is next up on PTL. Hello, James.
Hey, man, what's going on? I'm from West Virginia. You said we need to change the laws. We just need to enforce the laws. I mean,
when it comes to what, though? When it comes to what laws?
The way he's cozying up to Putin, I mean, that's treasonous behavior.
Agree.
Agree.
I
love this country more than anything, but there's sick people in this country that are willing to throw our democracy out the window to have a orange, like you call him, an orange turd as king.
Right. And James, here's what's really bad, right? And I agree with what you said, is that the Republican Party has turned into the party where they want to ban books, they want to attack drag queens, they want to attack the gay community. They really focus on these weird topics that nobody really seems to care about for the most part. If you're a normal, decent human being, you don't care about that stuff. They never seem to talk. They don't want to talk about abortion, right? They don't want to talk about healthcare. We have concepts of another plan, right? They don't want to talk about the real issues. And then if you talk about inflation, they'll make it sound like, even though it's happened all over the world, and I think Joe Biden and Harris have done an exceptional job when you compare this country to the other G7 countries, but yet they want to blame Joe Biden for the price of eggs, and yet Donald Trump is selling $100,000 gold watches. James, I don't even know what to do with these people anymore. They're so dumb.
Well, it's so important that we have people like you and Tony Michaels and a bunch of white people that standing up to protect people in the LGBTQ community and the immigrants. And this is important stuff. If we don't stand up for it, no one else is going to do it. So us white dudes are going to have to do this.
White dudes for Harris, my man. White dudes for Harris.
It's the only way we can get it to change.
This is the part of the country, James. And by the way, thank you so much for the call, and I appreciate your kind words. She's not doing great with middle-aged white men. Most of Donald Trump's base are, and I'm not saying every middle-aged white man is uneducated. All I'm saying is Donald Trump's base of support, for the most part, are middle-aged, older, white men. That's why it was so important for her to do the Howard Stern show. I think she should do the Joe Rogan show also. But I'm with you, James, and I appreciate your kind words. Thank you, sir. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Gina. Gina is next up on PTL. Hey, Gina, what's going on?
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing good, Gina. Where are you calling from today?
Alexandria, Virginia. I am so refreshed. I will get some sleep tonight. I just stumbled on your channel, and I'm so happy because I've been watching Washington Journal on C-SPAN every morning, and I just now saw Trump's rally right now in Pennsylvania where he says bullshit over and over and over again. When you call C-SPAN, if you say a first word, they cut you off just like that.
Right.
However, that's where I was watching the rally.
Yeah,
they
Klan
let
rally.
him say bullshit over and over again.
Let's be honest. Those are
but
Klan.
they don't let the viewers say how they feel.
Right. Well,
it pisses me off so bad.
Well, those are.
They let this. I pay my cable bill every month.
Yeah.
Donald Trump doesn't pay a cable bill at all. So why can't we get angry and say how we feel just like they let
let's call those rallies, but let's call those rallies for what they are. Those are Klan rallies. Those are a bunch of ignorant white people, for the most part, that show up to these rallies with their, F Joe in the Ho shirts, and they buy their.
God bless your security.
Well, that's who these people are. Again, the majority of these people, Gina, that go to these rallies, not all of them, but I would beg to say the majority of these people that go to Trump rallies, especially those that travel across the country, are some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. They attack transgenders. They attack those in the LGBT community. They don't want to talk about gun control. They want to hear Donald Trump talk about electrocuting sharks and Hannibal Lecter. They say the election is stolen. They believe what Marjorie Taylor Greene believes, that the Democrats control the weather and hurricanes. These are some of the most ignorant, uneducated, and ill-informed people that America has to offer. That is MAGA. And the sad part about it all is Donald Trump hates you. Donald Trump doesn't even want to hang out with you. Donald Trump only wants to hang out with his white billionaire friends at Mar-a-Lago. Somebody else that doesn't want to hang out with Donald Trump, I would say her name is Melania Trump. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's now go to Charles. Charles is next up on PTL. Hey, Charles, what's going on, man?
Brian, thanks for taking the call. Well,
Sure.
Great show. If Howard Stern's the king, you're definitely the prince. So congratulations.
Well, that means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I mean, look, you go to these rallies, these people happen to be able to take leisure time off on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Monday. I think most Americans have a 9-to-5 job. So it's kind of odd to see all these people showing up to hear him do his crybaby complaint and grievance speeches that he gives all the time. And I just wonder how these people have so much free time to show up at these rallies on weekdays.
I'll tell you why.
I work
It's a
three
good question.
jobs,
It's a good
right?
question.
I don't have that kind of time.
I'm going to give you an honest answer, my friend. This is my opinion. And again, I'm generalizing here. Not everybody that goes to a rally I feel this way about, but I think a big bulk of these people that go to these rallies are either unemployed, on government assistance, unemployed, and or these are people that take a day off from work to go to the rally, and or these are sick cultists. And some of these people make money off of these Trump rallies. I got to tell you, I talked to some people that go to rally and they sell their hats, they sell their gold shoes, and they swindle these Bibles, and they actually take advantage and make money off of a bunch of stupid people. I really think those are the three categories. I really do.
Yeah, and basically, look, most of these people suffer from two things, either racial animus or hate for women. You notice a lot of these guys look like they couldn't get a date, even if they tried. And I'll throw in the fact that your guest yesterday, which I thought was contorting himself every time you pressed him with a factual question, like a lot of people who do that call into your show. He was bragging about his sexual prowess, but I'll tell you, if he wasn't a millionaire, he looked like a guy that couldn't get laid even if he was a 12 by 12 floor tile.
Well, I can't respond to that, but I will say this, and before I let you go, you listen to the show on a regular basis, you know, I interview a lot of different people, right? I mean, I interview people on the right, I interview people on the left. You know, most Republicans, and I would say most conservative shows, not just in Las Vegas, but across the country, they're in their own right-wing echo chamber, and they only interview people that they agree with, and they coddle them. It's like fluffer interviews, right? I don't always.
Yeah, and I think a lot of PR companies call in on their shows too, just to
and I don't do
toss
that.
some softball questions.
And I don't do that. Nobody pays me to say something in regards to, you know, questions or guests or any of that nonsense. I've never endorsed somebody as a candidate for money. I've never asked for money to endorse anybody. And I always have different types of people on, and I let the listeners decide. And if someone is, in general now I'm speaking, and if somebody, my friend, is going to expose themselves, not physically, but verbally, on maybe their ignorance, their stupidity in general terms, then I will allow them to do that on this show by me questioning them, as you said, with fact-based questions. And I will always do that. Listen, if Laura Trump wanted to do this show tomorrow, I'd have her on. If Lauren Boebert wanted to do the show tomorrow, I'd have her on. Not because I admire them and not because I like them, because I want to expose them for how stupid they are, right? I appreciate you calling in, sir. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Arlene. Arlene is next up on PTL. Hey, Arlene, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? You know what? A lot. There is so much going on today. There's so much going on today that we just don't have time for it all. So I want to get to the Wall Street Journal opinion. Did you see the opinion? I didn't read it. I just heard about it, that J.D. Vance did. They allowed him to put all those lies on paper. So is that no longer a reputable paper that you can't even believe the opinion? That's crazy. Then the FBI no search of Kavanaugh, which we knew, and then I listened. I'm from California, and last night I listened to Steve Garvey. You know, I love baseball, but Steve Garvey needs to be a baseball player and promote the Dodgers. He is not. I mean, I don't want to say he's not intelligent, but he's not intelligent enough to be the senator of a state.
You're talking about the debate last night with him and Adam Schiff, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. Garvey is another, I agree with what you said. Garvey is another right-wing MAGA turd who says and does everything that Donald Trump wants him to do to try and get elected. He is an embarrassment to this country, and I would say that for any MAGA far-right Republican who says the types of things that Garvey said on a debate stage last night. I thought that Adam Schiff did a really good job. I believe he is going to win re-election. At least I hope so. And Garvey is like many of the other right-wing grifters out there that defend a 34-count felon liable rapist. They will say and do anything for this man. He has hijacked the entire party. And Garvey is another right-wing coward, just like J.D. Vance. Thank you for the call, dear. 702-221-7283. I believe Jeff is next on PTL. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Brian, what is happening? I am sorry I missed the opportunity yesterday to get through and tell Chumley just a little bit about himself, but he did a pretty good job on his own.
Chumley, that's a good one.
But by any measure, Trump is a Russian asset. It's been obvious since 2016, and it hasn't stopped. He's a traitor. I think the only question, and it always has been, is he just Putin's useful idiot, or is Trump complicit in all of this?
I don't think he's complicit.
That's all.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's complicit. I think Putin has something on him. I think it's a mixture of a couple things. I think it's a financial thing. And I also think that Trump, I don't think I know it. Trump admires Vladimir Putin. He wants to be an evil, murderous dictator. He wants people to kiss his ring. He wants people to kiss his feet. He wants people to bow to him, just like at Mar-a-Lago. He wants to go into any public space or private space, and he wants everyone to stand up and clap for him. He is an utter disgrace and a human piece of excrement. He's lived his entire life that way, and that's what he wants to be. Yeah.
Yes. Hey, Brian, what sports did you play?
The real manly sports in college. I played golf and tennis.
Nice. Nice.
The real manly sports.
All right.
I would love to lie
I
to
was
you.
going to guess hockey based on the posters, but
Yeah, I played deck hockey and I was a goalie growing up, but ice hockey was never my thing.
you're
but,
an individual guy.
Yeah, I think you could say that. In that case, I guess you could call me selfish like Donald Trump. I don't know, but I was better in
No,
that.
I would never do that.
I know. I'm
But,
just
hey, Brian.
Yes.
Brian, just two quick things.
Yeah.
As at one point, I guess I told you that it was you who pointed out the crowds leaving at Trump's rallies,
Correct.
and that's what triggered him.
Yep.
Now you've done it again.
I did it
and
again.
keep it up. Just
Thank
keep
you.
grinding, man. And it's all the way
That
through the
means a
finish
lot.
line.
That means a lot. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I mean, I guess I have to pat myself on the back on that one. For those of you that don't know what that gentleman was talking about, Donald Trump was in town a couple months ago. I went to the rally. I videoed literally thousands of people leaving his rally in the middle of his speech. Thousands. I documented it. I videoed it. I asked people why they were leaving. Many of them didn't answer me. I posted it on social media. Midas Touch and Ron Filipkowski reposted it. The Krasentine brothers reposted it. It got like 7 or 8 million views. And then Kamala Harris mentioned it on a debate stage with Donald Trump a few weeks ago. And Ron told me that the reason why she mentioned it was mainly due to the videos that I posted. I started that whole thing. And then in the last week, I did a few national shows, TV and radio, and a few podcasts. And I echoed the same thing on this show as I did on those shows, which was, please do the Howard Stern Show. There are no negatives in doing the Howard Stern Show. He'll make you feel comfortable. It'll reach out to middle-aged men. You're struggling with them. Please do the Howard Stern Show. And then 3 days later, boom. So I'm glad. If they did take my advice, I'm really glad. That means a lot. And I'm happy. I'm happy because I thought that interview went phenomenal. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Why don't we go to Kevin? Kevin is next up on PTL. Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
Good, Brian. How are you today?
Good. What's on your mind today?
In all honesty, I hope he's listening. Sean Bloom from yesterday. I honestly want to say thank you for coming on and having a wonderful, civil conversation, albeit misinformed, misguided, but kind of thing that I like to hear. I mean, but my biggest question is, how far does the goalpost have to go before they get the aha moment? Because it just seems that goalpost gets pushed further back, and the amount of times that you and others they were bringing up facts and saying, "Here's the fact," and having him acknowledge it and go, "Oh, okay, you're right."
So, Kevin, I
But
hear
you're
what
still
you're
gonna vote
saying.
for it.
I'm going to give you a perfect example, though, of what the types of people that we're talking about here. If Donald Trump got on a stage today and did a press conference and he said the earth is flat, all of his supporters would also say the earth is flat, and it wouldn't matter. You could have 1,000 scientists in front of a MAGA group of people the next day saying, no, the earth is not flat. Here's the reason why the earth is not flat, and here are the facts. And those MAGA buffoons would still say the earth is flat. You are speaking to the majority, not all, but the majority of Trump supporters that are completely brainwashed, unintelligent, and this is the worst quality for so many of them, and they have a lot of bad qualities. They never can admit they're wrong about anything, right? One of the greatest qualities in a human being, like a Joe Biden, is they can admit when they're wrong. And I remember when he went on a podcast, The Breakfast Club, and he said, "You ain't black if you're not voting for me." And I'm like, "Ooh, that's probably not a really good thing to say." He took some flack for it. And then the next day he said, "I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. I apologize." One of the greatest qualities in a human being is when they say, "Geez, I'm really sorry." When was the last time you heard Donald Trump say anything heartfelt, let alone, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that"?
Well, I've never heard in any of his rallies that he talks a lot about himself and not a lot about what happens. And, when I hear people say, "Well, if you look at his policies," again, you're like, name me a policy.
They can't. I had a guy on.
Anyways,
I had a guy on, and I asked him to name one policy, and his policy was the First America agenda, making America great again. Which, by the way, isn't a policy; it's a stupid slogan. And I would also say, are we making America first when we send COVID tests to Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin? I'm just curious. Are we making America first when you have business calls with the Saudis on burner phones? Are we making America first when we sell Bibles for $60 and we have them made in China for $3 a pop? Are we making America great again? Is that the First America agenda, you frickin' morons? 702. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221 is 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Margaret? Margaret is next up on the PTL radio show. Hi, Margaret. What's going on?
I just wanted to say a few things about abortion.
Sure.
I guess. First of all, the Republicans need to stop calling us pro-abortion. Nobody wants anybody to have an abortion. I would rather they not.
Agree.
But I'm certainly not going to tell them no.
Can I just add something to that, Margaret?
No, I'm not pro-abortion. I'm pro-women's choice.
Margaret, I want you to continue. I just want to say something real quickly. What you were just talking about, I said on the Don Lemon show the other day, we were talking about abortion, and I am not a woman. I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, but I will say this. Those of us that are pro-choice, like myself and you, we're not jumping on a trampoline when a woman gets an abortion. It's a very difficult, emotional, and personal decision, which I would never force that upon anybody. And Republicans, you're absolutely right, Margaret. Republicans make it sound like those that are, whoops, I think we lost somebody. They make it sound like if you're pro-choice, you celebrate when a woman gets an abortion. No, I don't celebrate. I don't want a woman to have to drive 600 or 700 miles to get an abortion. I don't want geography to play a role in a woman's body. I mean, these people are they're such a disgrace. Even they can't even defend their position, and then they just lie about the other side.
Yep.
It's
so my other thing was this whole, leaving it up to the states. Okay, fine, but it's not on the ballot in my state.
Right.
Want to know why?
Why?
Because I got a Republican-led House, and they won't let it be on the ballot.
Oh, boy.
So leaving it up to the states ain't working.
Yeah, I tend to 100% agree with you. This is an excuse that Donald Trump uses, my dear, as you know. Donald Trump uses that excuse when he says leave it up to the states because he knows most of the country disagrees with him. Oh, but yeah, by the way, including his contractual wife, Melania Trump. Over 60% of this country, Republicans and Democrats, believe in a woman's right to choose. Doesn't mean we're celebrating abortions. Doesn't mean we would support an abortion at the 9th month, which, by the way, almost never happens. And the lies that Donald Trump put forth on a debate stage, shocker, that doctors are legally executing babies after they are born. By the way, that's also a lie. Thank you for the call. This will be one of the main, in my opinion, main points when it comes to policy, if in fact Kamala Harris wins the abortion policy. It's why the Republicans had such terrible midterms in 2022. All right, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ishani. Ishani is next up on PTL. Hello, Ishani.
Hi, hello. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from? I keep forgetting to ask people.
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
All right, Greg Popovich country. I like it. San Antonio,
Ah.
Texas. I've been out there. I've been to the Alamo, San Antonio. Wonderful people out there. What's on your mind today?
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, this is the state of Ted Cruz, so we're not happy.
Oh my God, I forgot about that idiot. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness, I just can't believe that these are actually people that were elected. That's
I heard a rumor.
crazy.
I did hear a rumor though that if Donald Trump loses, Ted Cruz is going to move to the Caribbean. I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh gosh,
Hope he
I
stays there.
think a lot of them are getting their passports updated.
What's on your mind today, dear?
Well, I just needed to respond. There was this caller that you had that could not name one policy that Donald Trump actually had anything to do with. And the transgender issue that he just stayed on, that topic
Yeah.
is one of the topics that's really tying up a lot of African American voters, because it's more to a biblical thing to them when you hear about that. But I had to send this information to two close relatives that homosexuality, which it is, and it's referred to as reprobation in the Bible if you want to just make it scriptural.
Yeah.
But like Sodom and Gomorrah
Sure.
were destroyed. They didn't even know those were two different
Let me
cities.
ask you.
But
Can I ask you really quickly, since we're on this topic? I feel like when you find a MAGA Republican who is a bigot, and sadly many of them are, it could be racist, it could be homophobic, it could be misogynistic, whatever the case may be, they always seem to hide behind their religion and use it as an excuse, right? That's what, my God tells me to do it. My religion tells me to do it, right? And these are the same people that support Donald Trump. They're the biggest hypocrites in the world, and they hide behind their religion, and they use it as an excuse for their bigotry and their absurd and awful statements that they make about women and minorities. It's horrible.
It's really, really bad, especially when it comes to the transgender. Well, we don't want boys going into the girls' bathrooms, and we don't want that happening at my schools where my children are.
Right.
But if you look at transgender, this is not a new topic.
It's not new at all.
No, it's been centuries.
Can I add something to that? Candace Owens, who is a moron, by the way. Candace Owens, Candace Owens, who's an embarrassment to this country, says, why do we have all these gay people and transgender people now? Well, because there's less idiots like you. That's why. More and more, it's more acceptable, and we don't have as many bigots like Candace Owens. That's why. Now, we still have some, like the Matt Walshes and the Candace Owens and others, right? But there are less bigots out there now, and it's more socially acceptable now than it was. Candace Owens has to know that, right? She's clearly a bigot, and she has no problem with hating on groups of people just to sell a book, which, by the way, if I ever got my hands on her book, I would use it as toilet paper. That's what I think about her.
Oh, no.
But
I didn't know she had a book.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible.
Did she write a book?
The only reason why some of these people say the things they say is so they can make money, right?
Money.
There is nothing I have ever said on the air, ever. And I said to myself, well, geez, I'm going to say this so I can make money. Everything I've ever said on the air, I would say off the air. Candace Owens and many of these people are very different. I had a conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend last week. I met him at a rally. He agreed with everything I said about Trump. He agreed with everything I said about Laura Loomer. And I said to myself, and I should have probably said this to him, but he was so nice and pleasant to me. I said, why won't you talk about this when you're in front of a camera? We all know why.
Right?
They're two-faced, right? They're different people, and they're two-faced.
They are.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Amen.
It's amazing, the hypocrisy that I have over the last, I'd say, decade. The hypocrisy, and it's almost blasphemous. Like this preacher, Pastor Livingston, had said.
Yeah.
He said that you're putting the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which I do have a copy of, by the way, but it's not
which,
in my
by the way,
Bible.
Donald Trump wants to rip up parts of the Constitution. I just want to add that as well. Well, my dear, I got to move on to some other callers. Great call. So wonderful to hear from you. You sound like a wonderful lady. And let's hope we get the result we want in November because of good people like you. Let's go to Tony. Tony is next up on PTL. What's up, Tony? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Roseville, Minnesota.
All right.
The
So
home of a good governor.
Tim Walz,
Tim
that's right.
Walz.
Yeah. Amen to that. What's on your mind today?
Well, I'm a fairly new viewer of yours. I watch you every day on YouTube here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. My
and I
YouTube
was
is
wondering,
growing.
being I'm an old white dude, 74-year-old male,
Yep.
I'm really getting disenchanted of my sex of being so stupid.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, but I will say this. Keep this in mind, and maybe this will make you feel a little bit better. Donald Trump lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton in 2016. He lost the popular vote badly in 2020 to Joe Biden. He's going to lose the popular vote in November. So what does that mean? Forget about the Electoral College, which is, by the way, rigged for Republicans. That means the overwhelming majority of people in this country have a brain. It means the overwhelming majority of people in this country are decent people with a moral compass. Don't forget that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You're right. There's a lot of dumb, uneducated white people that are around your age. You're right. But the overwhelming majority of people in America will not be voting for Donald Trump. Keep that in mind.
Because I've been a cradle-to-grave Democrat, liberal Democrat. Voted first for George McGovern.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm going to change now.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, do white males not have a moral compass? Because, I mean, I know you told me that, but it seems like they don't care about anything moral or integrity and any of the stuff that Trump does. I just don't understand.
I'll take it a step further. I don't want to just pick on that group of people, right? What if you're a woman? I don't care what the color of your skin is. What if you are a female and you're supporting the man who is a liable rapist who has 25 women who have accused him of rape or sexual assault, who's probably cheated on more women in every one of his hotel rooms that he owns, on every woman he's ever had in his life. His own ex-wife, who passed away, accused him of rape. I don't care if you don't like Kamala Harris's policies. I don't care. We're talking about human decency. How could you be a brave soldier, man or a woman in uniform, and vote for the man who called you a sucker and a loser, and vote for the man who dodged the military, and vote for the man who, in regards to John McCain, said, I don't respect you because you were captured? How can you vote for somebody like that if you're a woman and if you're a veteran? I don't understand these people, my man. I don't understand it.
I don't either. I just don't get it. So I thought maybe you could give me an answer.
Stupidity. They're brainwashed, my friend. They're brainwashed. Stupidity. These people, they watch their Newsmax all day. They believe Kamala Harris is an alcoholic because some prominent right-wing social media guy says she's an alcoholic, and they doctor video. They believe she's an alcoholic because she took a sip of beer on a late-night talk show. They don't believe she's black. They're brainwashed. You have to be a certain level of stupid to believe this stuff. There are a lot of dumb people that support Donald Trump. That's the best answer I can give you. All right, let's go to Jesse. Thank you for the call, sir. Jesse is next on PTL. What's up, Jesse?
Not much. I was wondering what happened to your, I call him a magadope, Rich Magadope, the one, Sean Bloom.
Well, yes, Sean was in studio yesterday. He was a guest on the show yesterday.
What happened? What happened to the program? I was watching it.
Yeah,
about
good
15
question.
Minutes.
I'm glad you brought that up. So we had a brief power outage. That happens like once every 6 months. Sorry about that. I probably should have mentioned that. We lost like the last 10 minutes of the show because we had a power outage. But luckily, that's what happened.
I was wanting to hear that guy that was talking to Brian.
Well, here's what you do. I'm going to give you some good advice here. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube page. It's free at PTL Radio Show. You will see.
Okay. Well, see, Brian, I'm on my Fire Stick right now watching you live.
I got you. I appreciate that. So you can look at all my old shows. Everything is up there for the last 3 years. So at PTL Radio Show on my YouTube page, and we have the show up from yesterday, and we have also my X page. I put up excerpts from that interview at PTL Radio Show. My website, pushingthelimits.live. So there's a lot of different places where you can go. I would highly recommend just subscribe to my YouTube page. It's free at PTL Radio Show. Okay, my man?
Okay, Brian, I got one more thing to say to you.
Sure.
I'm flustered because everybody calls in that can't get Kamala Harris's name right.
Yeah.
It's not a hard name to remember.
No, it's not.
And I think she's going to win by at least 100 million or more.
Well, I don't know if she's going to win by 100 million. I think I'd be impressed if we got to 100 million in votes. Let's just.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
that's
I
what
got
I'm
you.
saying. I mean, if
Joe
won by 10 million,
right?
I'm sure she can win by more. The way I see all of her crowd.
That's a very logical thing you just said, and that's the argument I make all the time, which is, I don't know a lot of Biden supporters who at least voted for Biden in 2020 that will be voting for Donald Trump. There might be a few. There could be some. But you can't convince me that, at least 95% of those that voted for Joe Biden in 2020 will not also be voting for Kamala Harris. I think they will, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Check out my YouTube page, Growing by the Day, and I appreciate you. All right, let's try to get to some more callers here. Let's go to Carrie. Carrie is next up on PTL. Hi, Carrie. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Rochester, Minnesota.
Another Minnesotan. I love it. I love that accent. Tim Waltz doing a good job out there. Well, thank you for calling in. What's on your mind today?
He is. I think you guys touched on this a bit. I struggle so much with understanding the continued support for this orange monster from veterans that are, family members of mine. They're just like intravenously taking in Fox News and right-wing news sources.
Yeah.
Just believe every ridiculous, lie that comes out of the guy's mouth.
You know what's interesting too? It's not just that. It's the lies about Tim Waltz, the stolen valor stuff. They're more concerned about some bill. By the way, no school ever even implemented it, about possibly having tampons in a boy's bathroom. When you talk to a Republican about this, watch how angry they get when you, and by the way, again, no school even implemented this, but they get so angry. Check their level of anger when you talk about the possibility of tampons in a boy's bathroom, and then ask them, what do you think about Donald Trump sending COVID tests to Vladimir Putin? It'll be no anger at all. They're more upset about, this is how stupid these people are. It's true though, isn't it? They're more upset about the possibility of having tampons in a boy's bathroom, because God forbid a 13-year-old girl or 12-year-old girl that gets her period for the first time, and maybe she has a male friend, hey, can you get me one of those because she's embarrassed? That's so horrible. But sending our own resources to an evil, murderous dictator, 34-count felon, liable rapist, all that is okay, but they're so upset over tampons that could be in a boy's bathroom. Ladies and gentlemen, the MAGA Republican Party today.
Idiots.
Yeah, you're right. They are. Tim Waltz is a nice man. He's a decent man. He has a nice family. Kamala Harris is a decent woman, an educated woman, a nice family. You couldn't even come close to saying that about Donald Trump, with all the lies, stealing from charities, the felonies, all the women in his life. Uday and Kusei, also known as Eric Trump and Don Jr. Ivanka Trump. Boy, you don't see her on the campaign trail, do you? She took $600 million from the Chinese government in trademarks. Jared Kushner, who got a $2.1 billion check from the Saudis. Yeah, you can't compare the families.
As Fox News feeds the bullshit China, Biden bullshit to all of
you're
them.
right. What was your name again, dear? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm Carrie from Minnesota.
Carrie from Minnesota. Well, Carrie from Minnesota, I am so glad you called in, and I want you to call back. And when Tim Waltz becomes the next vice president of the United States, I want you to announce it and call in on this show. Okay, sound good?
Awesome.
All right.
I hope she kicks his rear.
I hope she does too.
I really do.
I hope so. Well, I appreciate your call. He's a coward. He won't do a 60 Minutes interview because Orange Turd doesn't want to be fact checked. Whatever happened, I'll debate her anytime, anywhere. Now he says, well, it's too late. Why is it too late? Because mail-in voting started? That's your reasoning for not wanting to debate her? Because he knows he'll get his clock cleaned again. Can't make the excuse CNN is biased. CNN was very fair. In fact, you could make the case that he was too fair. They were too fair to Donald Trump. So you can't blame CNN. Why won't you debate Kamala Harris again, Mr. Former Orange Turd Mr. Former President? Why won't you debate her again? Oh, well, it's too late. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris used that excuse? It's too late. I don't want to debate Donald Trump. It's too late. Can you imagine? What a coward. What a draft-dodging coward. 702-221-7283. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Brent. Brent is next on PTL. What's up, Brent? How's it going, man?
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I had a quick point, or just a thought from yesterday. It was very frustrating listening to Sean Bloom. He says he's a math and a statistics person, all about the facts. But every time you brought up something to him, he said, "I don't believe the numbers. I don't believe the numbers."
Yeah. Well, I tried to get him on that one. You can't have it both ways, right?
Well, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have it.
And then he
both
says, "Well,
ways.
people lie. Women lie. Women lie." He said that over and over and over. I'm sorry, when 25 women have come forward,
yeah,
where there's smoke, there's fire, buddy. Come
Agree.
on. I know he's a young man, and I tried calling in yesterday to talk to him. I couldn't get through, but it's just so frustrating.
Well, how do you think I feel? Yeah, I do it every day. I debate MAGA people
I
every
wondered
day.
about the value of him being on the show because.
Well, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say.
He just denied everything
Well,
that you brought up.
You're not the first person to say that, and here's what I will respond to by saying that. He's old enough to vote. There are a lot of 20-somethings or even teenagers, 18, 19-year-olds. Some of them believe what he believes, okay? I would like to think, and I want to give people, I try to give everybody an opportunity, right, to state their case, whether they're right or wrong, whether I agree with them or not. He came in, he stated his case. There's obviously a lot of people that disagree with him. But that's the difference between what I do on my show, and a lot of other shows. While you might not always like the guests that I have on, I'm always going to hear a different side, and I try to do that every day. Sometimes I do interview people I agree with as well, but I'd like to think that I interview more people that I disagree with than I agree with. Listen, I hate to call him a celebrity attorney, but on the right, they've turned him into a celebrity, an attorney by the name of Tom Rentz. He did my show last week. I think that was last week.
I heard it.
Yeah, and Tom makes jokes about Kamala Harris sleeping her way to the top.
Yes, I heard the whole thing.
Now, I think he made a fool of himself because he made the case that, well, listen, it's effective. And my response to that was, how pathetic is that it's effective, that you can make misogynistic jokes about Kamala Harris? What does that say about the people that listen to you? I'd like to think that the majority of the people that listen to me are people like you, people that have common sense, people that are educated, people that are informed, and people that have a moral compass and they have decency. And the people that listen to Donald Trump, the people that watch Newsmax and OAN, the people that listen to Jesse Waters, these are people with no moral compass, no dignity, and no values.
Brainwashed.
Yeah, that's one nice way of putting it, isn't it, my friend? I appreciate you calling in, my friend. I got to run.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Ed. Ed is next up on PTL. Hey, Ed, what's going on, man?
Who said this, Brian? The Electoral College is a disaster for democracy.
I agree.
And he also said the economy does better under Democrats.
Sure.
Donald J. Trump.
So I agree. Yeah, I agree with that, by the way.
He said that.
Don't you agree?
And
I agree.
And when anybody asks any Democrat, why would you vote for Kamala Harris? The answer is real simple to me. The economy always does better under the Democrats, number one. But the main thing is she will get to decide a Supreme Court justice, hopefully.
Correct.
That is so important. And what kills me is we let this orange guy get in here who's received fewer votes, but he got to put 3 Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court.
Correct.
And I think the Democrats, if you can't do much, they need to try to change it. If you do not win, tell me what you think about this. If you do not win the popular vote, you do not get to decide Supreme Court justices because more people voted against you than for you.
I like the way you think, my friend. I agree. Where are you calling from?
Jackson, Tennessee.
Jackson.
You remember I called you a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, I remember. Ed, that's a really good point that you make, and what I want to reemphasize what you just said. If you lose the popular vote, why should you be able to decide who's on the Supreme Court justices? That should be a popular vote decision. I completely agree with you on that one. And look at what the Supreme Court has done. Look at what Barrett has done. Look at what some of the Clarence Thomases of the world and the Kavanaughs, look at what they've done to this country. Look at what women are facing in this country now. Oh, well, let's just leave it up to the states. Yeah, look at these cases of women dying because of these absurd laws that these states are passing when it comes to abortion, and now a 6-week ban in one state.
I say the same thing. And also, Brian, I hate to interrupt like that, but I know you got a lot of calls, and
Sure.
I'll get off here. Look what they brought us. no country in the world, and especially no advanced nation, in the top 3 causes of death for kids is gunshots.
Exactly.
That's no other country has that listing.
It's
only the United States of America.
But isn't it so obvious? They want to talk about drag queens, and they want to talk about which bathrooms you're going into, and they want to talk about children getting indoctrinated. The number one cause of death over and over again is guns. It's gun violence. And then after a school shooting, you hear these MAGA morons say, we need to harden our schools. We need to lock a door or make our... That's what J.D. Vance said on the debate stage last week. He said our windows need to be stronger, as if an AR-15 or someone that just shoots their grandmother in the face, like what happened in Uvalde, Texas, they're showing up to a school and they want to kill a bunch of kids. Oh, well, geez, that door is locked, so I guess I better turn around. Again, these are some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. Welcome to the MAGA Republican Party.
Hey, Brian, and what are we doing to the psyche of these kids in school and our children?
Boy, you know what? It's such a good question, my friend, and I'm so glad you called in. Speaking of our kids, what about Springfield, Ohio? Because of the hateful, idiotic, and lying and the racist rhetoric of they're eating our dogs and cats, there were bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio. Kids were dropped off at school that day and their parents had to pick them up because there was a bomb threat. It happened multiple times, over 50 threats in that community, and J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have still not apologized for what they have said. In fact, they doubled down on it. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ben. Ben is next up on PTL. Hey, Ben, where are you calling from?
Washington.
Washington. Well, thank you for calling in, sir. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, you know, all these MAGA people and the Fox News and the senators all doing all these hate speeches and lying out there behind. And a whole bunch of them are wearing crosses around their neck.
Yep, you're
Do
right.
they actually believe in the cross, or is that just a word off vampires?
Yeah. It's such a good point, though, that you bring up. You see Laura Ingraham every night wearing that cross on her neck. You see some of these people that attack the gay community every day. They attack minorities every day. They perpetuate the lie about the cats and dogs with these legal Haitian immigrants. And again, they hide behind their religion, as if putting on a necklace and saying you believe in Christ, all of a sudden we can just take away all the horrible, disgusting things you say on a regular basis. Donald Trump holding up a Bible upside down with the photo op when he was president. The guy can't even memorize and speak to one passage in the Bible, but yet he says it's his favorite book. Many of the most religious people in this country, not all of them, but many of the people and the most religious people in their country that claim that they dedicate their life to God also dedicate their life to Donald Trump. So I think it speaks volumes as to who they are, and that's why it's a cult.
Because I've been out of church for a long time, because I'm Native American, I'm spiritual.
Gotcha.
So when did Jesus get demoted and Donald Trump took his place?
Yeah, that's a good.
Because every time I see crowns around his head, the people saying, "Oh, he's just like Jesus."
Right.
What did Jesus do to get demoted?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jesus wouldn't want anything to do with Donald Trump. I'll tell you that one, my friend. Thank you so much for the call. I love to hear from people like you, and I love the diversity in my listeners, and it means a lot to me. So thank you. 702-221-7283. That was a great call. Let's go to Michael. Michael is next on PTL. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Brian. How's it going?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Well, 3 things. First, that boob you had on yesterday. Next time he's on, tell him not to pick his nose on TV.
I didn't see that. I missed that one. I'm sorry. I missed that. Yeah. Okay.
The second one is there's an outbreak of E. coli and salmonella raging through a group of MAGA fans in Idaho who are starting to drink raw milk following Marjorie Taylor Greene's accusation that pasteurization is a Jewish plot to secretly vaccine dairy consumers against COVID.
You're right. She posted that on video, too, on her social media account. It's so dangerous, right? You remember the Jewish space lasers, and when she spread that type of propaganda. Remember when she showed a naked picture of Hunter Biden in the House chambers? This is a sick, ignorant woman. And she's, I think, one of the few MAGA supporters in office that actually, I think she believes some of the stuff she says because she's that stupid.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, she believes it.
Yeah, it's
the
dangerous.
Third thing I was going to tell you, this Donald Trump and his MAGA crowds.
Yep.
reminds me of a nursery rhyme, or nursery rhyme or something. That all the MAGA people are rats, and Donald Trump is the Pied Piper.
Well, you know what? Here's what we need. We're going to get a big mousetrap, right? We're going to put a lot of cheese and Kentucky Fried Chicken in that mousetrap, and we have to make sure it will fit for a morbidly obese orange man. We're going to get that mousetrap ready, and then come November, we're going to catch him. And he will. Go. That's what we are going to do. We need to go to the voter booth. That is our mousetrap. Let him find that cheese and let him find that KFC and all the donuts and everything else he eats. And we need to trap that MAGA clown and make sure he never gets back into the White House. I appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're nearing the end of the show, so I'm going to try to get as many callers as I can. Fiora is next. Hi, Fiora. Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. Calling first time from Minnesota. Just found your show through the YouTube algorithm
you're like the fourth or fifth caller I've gotten from Minnesota today. I'm liking that. I appreciate that. Well, thank you for finding my YouTube page. Please subscribe. What's on your mind today?
I wanted to talk to you about trans health care. I'm really nervous because I don't know if we're going to get into a little bit of a spat, but it sounded like you didn't think it should be covered by health insurance, and I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
No, so what I was referring to were those that are behind bars. This is where I disagree with Kamala Harris. She had done an interview where she said that if you're behind bars, the taxpayers should pay for your transgender surgery. I don't think if you're behind bars, you should be allowed to vote. I don't think if you're behind bars, you should get exceptional health care. Now, I'm not saying you don't deserve health care in general. I'm just not sure that you should. Here's my point. I understand that in some cases, and I'm not a doctor, I have no problem with transgenders. I have no problem with anybody getting transgender surgery so long as you have parents and guardians that are okay with it and doctors and physicians and all that stuff. I'm not so sure I'm ready to say that taxpayers should be paying for transgender surgery of those that are behind bars. But I'll put it to you this way. This isn't a top 100 issue for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that I think about like these MAGA morons out there that obsess over transgenders. In general speaking, though, I want people to live their life. I want them to be happy. Have transgender surgery, do whatever you want to do that makes you happy so long as it's legal. I'm just not so sure as a taxpayer I'd want to pay for those behind bars. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I do think that is a nuanced conversation to have, but I would lean towards saying yes, because there is a suicide risk to that. And science shows that that's a very real thing. And I feel like if you're going to go through the hoops of having that done, you're not just messing around.
Right.
Like full disclosure, I'm a trans person that's already gone through all that. I got that done years ago.
But I need to explain this. I am not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a doctor on this show. I want people to be taken care of. And to be honest with you, I want that to be left to the doctors, right? I don't want to get involved in your life when it comes to your body. I feel the same way about abortion or anything else. I want you to be happy and be who you are. And listen, if you have insurance that'll cover it, I think that's great. Take advantage of it. And as long as you're speaking to professionals, which I'm sure you have, and I would be willing to change my stance on that when it comes to those behind bars, if in fact they're seeking professional help. And it's not just a decision that they made at the snap of a finger, which I'm sure for many of them it's not, right? And I'd be willing to change my position on that. I think you know where I stand on this as a whole. I want people to be who they are. I want them to do what they want with their own bodies. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's your decision, not mine. And the problem is a lot of these people on the far right want to tell you what to do with your own body when it comes to being a transgender, when it comes to, having an abortion. I'm the opposite of that. So that's something that I could certainly learn from and maybe change my position on when it comes to those that are incarcerated. But if you have insurance and it'll cover, I think it's great. I want you to be happy and I want you to get the health care that you deserve. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, because I must have caught just one comment. I listened to a long, 20-minute video of yours, and it sounded like you just weren't in favor of insurance covering it.
No, I don't.
You were having a
Right.
you were having a
Yeah.
talk with somebody who is,
Sure.
spatting about the woke and all that sort of stuff.
All
So,
I can say is I don't remember because gosh, I do 10 hours of radio a week, but I can tell you this. I want you to be happy. I want you to be who you are. I don't obsess over other people's bodies, right? And I never would, except maybe Donald Trump.
I think about being trans less than these people do.
You know what? Isn't that saying something? I've been to drag queen reading. I had a good time. I thought the kids had a good time. There was nothing sexual there. I don't care what bathroom you go in. I go in there and I do my thing and I leave. There is zero evidence that anybody transgender is more likely to commit a crime in a bathroom than somebody who is not transgender. But these dopes on the far right don't understand it. And when I ask them, name me a situation where a child has been harmed at a drag queen reading physically or killed, they can't. But then when it comes to our kids being gunned down in our schools, they have no answers for that. Thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. And that's certainly a topic that I empathize with, and I could certainly change my position on that as well. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kathy, who's next. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I just want to bring up something. I was watching Lawrence O'Donnell last night on MSNBC.
Yep.
He had Senator Sheldon Whitehouse on,
Mm-hmm.
who, I don't know if you're aware of this, but he's been after the Supreme Court for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But he brought up something about Justice Kavanaugh,
Right.
that the FBI was stopped from investigating him prior to his acceptance into the court
Mm-hmm.
because Trump wanted the FBI to stop.
Correct. And that story has just come out. I don't know. I don't know if Brett Kavanaugh ever sexually assaulted a woman. I don't think we'll ever know the truth there. Here's what we do know. He's a liar. He looked at the American people and under oath, he said he respected the law and he wasn't going to do anything with Roe versus Wade. We knew that that was a lie.
Right.
We knew that. We know. So we know at a minimum, we know he's a bald-faced liar and he likes his beer, right? I don't have any respect for Brett Kavanaugh because, again, he's another one of those people who clinged on to Donald Trump and did everything, defends him and got into a pretzel defending his actions and behavior because he wanted to be a Supreme Court justice and he put his own power over America. You know, unlike a Liz Cheney, unlike an Adam Kinzinger, you know, Clarence Thomas is another one. I mean, we have some despicable people, sadly, that are Supreme Court justices that have no business being there. And yeah, this is sad times that we are living in. And I do appreciate you calling in. Going to try to get a few more calls before we end the show. Landon is next. Hey, Landon, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Brian. Calling from Americus, Georgia again. I'd heard about that mousetrap idea, and I figured I could let you know that if you need any peanut butter to put on it, I'm about 15 miles away. I'm about 15 miles away from Jimmy Carter, so I think we could get you set up good.
What else should we put on there? Peanut butter, some KFC, some donuts, probably a golf hole might be, too big of a mousetrap for that. A golf cart.
Maybe an entire Domino's pizza.
Yeah, maybe a little mini Newsmax television. I don't know, something like that, right?
Yeah.
We could definitely get him in there for sure.
Sort of speaking of television, I guess, more movies, but I'm going to see The Apprentice tomorrow. It said on the trailer October 11th, but there was a date, October 10th at my local theater, so I'm going to see it tomorrow, and my new PTL shirt is going to look good on me when I go.
Please thank you. Can you do me a favor if that is true? I would like you to take a picture of that, and I will put it on, send it to me, email it to me, put it on social media, and I will retweet the heck out of it.
I will. I got you, buddy.
I appreciate that, my man. I love people like you listening to the show, and this is why I do this, man. I love you. Thank you so much for what you do and supporting me, and I think that'd be fun. Hey, we got a lot of people that have bought PTL merchandise, right? A lot of people. If you have, and there's many of you out there, every day people buy stuff, send me the pictures of you wearing it. Email it to me, my Twitter page, X, @PTL Radio Show. And I will retweet it and put it everywhere. So this is an independently owned radio show. What does that mean? We rely on people like you. So that nice gentleman who just called in, he went on my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, pushingthelimits.live, and he bought a PTL shirt. We have merchandise up there, shirts, hats, beanies. You can buy merchandise and, support what we do. And there's another way. If you don't want to buy merchandise, there's something even faster, right? If you go to my website, pushingthelimits.live, we want you to subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show and all that stuff. That's free. And if you don't want to buy merchandise, you can also donate. There's a donate button right on the front page of the website. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We appreciate it very much. We appreciate your generosity in advance. And it helps us keep the lights on, for lack of a better term. So pushingthelimits.live. Again, pushingthelimits.live is the website. Check it out. And programming note for you. So Kamala Harris is coming to town tomorrow. I will be attending. I'm credentialed to go to her Univision event. I will be there. I'm going to be covering it for all of you. So I have a great host that is going to be filling in for me. His name is Nick Bonsanto. I promise you guys are going to love him. He is a radio veteran. He shares my opinions politically, and he's really good. Ileana Dropkin will be coming in tomorrow for hour number 2 as well, co-hosting. So you're going to want to tune in tomorrow. Check out my website and also check out my favorite gaming bar in Las Vegas, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions, including every Sunday. If you earn 350 points playing a slot machine, you're going to get $50 in free slot play. Folks, you can't beat it. Jackson's Bar and Grill, great food, great atmosphere. I'm going to be heading out to Jackson's a little bit later on today. And then I'm going to the Vegas Golden Knights game tonight. It's the season opener. That's going to be fun. I have the day off tomorrow, sort of. I'm on assignment covering the Kamala Harris Univision event, which is happening during my show. And I will be back live with all the information, reporting on all of it for you on Friday. But tune in tomorrow at PTL Radio Show on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Nick Bonsanto and PTL will be live, same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie?